Welcome to this deep dive, all about McDonald's stock. We've got a great set of sources here, like actual financial reports, company profiles, even like a whole value investing analysis, all focused on MCD. So
Yeah.
our mission today is to give you, the listener, like a complete picture of McDonald's, as an investment.
Yeah. And, we're going to be thinking like real value investors, just like, Warren Buffett,
Yeah.
not just chasing the latest trends, but really understanding the core business.
Exactly. So let's start with the sheer size of this company. We're talking over 40,000 restaurants all over the world, serving something like 70 million customers every single day.
Oh, wow.
That's more than the entire population of some countries.
It really is amazing. It just shows you the power of their franchise model. It's really at the heart of their success. Lets them grow really fast without having to like own every single location.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But isn't franchising like kind of one size fits all? Is that all it is?
No, not at all. Actually, they've got three different ways they do it. Like, you've got the traditional franchise setup, what most people think of. Then there's developmental licensees. They're the ones who, like, put up all the capital, develop the whole thing. And then you've got affiliates. They usually have some ownership and operate in very specific markets.
Oh, so they've got a model for just about any situation.
Pretty much.
Speaking of models, how does McDonald's actually make money? It can't just be burgers and fries, can it?
Well, there's more to it than you might think. I mean, sure, they get revenue from their own restaurants, the ones they operate directly. But the real engine, it's the franchises, right? They get rent from those franchisees, then royalties based on sales, and of course, those upfront fees when a new franchise starts up.
Right.
That kind of diverse income, it adds a lot of stability. And that's something value investors really like to see.
Okay, so we've got this global giant, a really smart business model, and multiple ways they bring in the cash. But before we get too excited, let's talk about leadership. Who's at the helm here? Are they doing a good job? What's the story there?
Well, the CEO, Chris Kempczinski, he's been leading since 2019. And the interesting thing is he came up through the ranks, so he really knows this business inside and out. Plus, the whole team around him, they've got deep experience. Ian Borden, a CFO, Gillian McDonald's running international, Joe Erlinger over in the U.S. market.
Experienced team.
Yeah, and they seem to be very focused on shareholder value, which aligns with that whole Buffett philosophy we were talking about.
That's good to hear. But what about their actual strategy for, using their money?
Yeah.
Are they investing for growth, buybacks, just sitting on cash?
It seems like they're finding a good balance. Investing in growth is definitely a priority, especially stuff like technology, expanding more internationally. But they're also really committed to giving value back to the shareholders through dividends and share buybacks.
Yeah.
I mean, in 2024 alone, over $7.7 billion went back to shareholders.
Wow. That's a serious chunk of change.
It is.
Okay, so they're growing, they're paying back investors. Sounds good so far. But what about the overall financial health? Are they really as solid as they seem?
Let's dive into that. Starting with profitability, that's where McDonald's really shines. Their franchise model with those lower operating costs, that steady stream of rent and royalties, it really leads to some pretty impressive margins.
Okay, I like the sound of that.
Their adjusted operating margin in 2024 was just over 46%. That means for every dollar of revenue, they kept almost 46 cents as pure profit.
Wow, 46%.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's impressive.
I remember in one of those reports, it said their gross profit margin was really high too, right?
You're right. It was 56.6%. Basically means they're keeping a big chunk of their revenue after paying for, the actual cost of making all those burgers and fries.
Right.
And then there's their net income margin, which was 31.79% in the third quarter of 2024. Shows they're managing their costs well and, turning a healthy profit.
All right, so profitability is definitely a strong point.
Definitely.
What about their balance sheet, though? Any red flags there?
Yeah.
Any scary debt levels?
Well, McDonald's actually has a pretty solid balance sheet. They even have an investment-grade credit rating, which, as you know, is really important for a value investor.
Definitely, yeah.
Now, their debt has gone up a bit recently due to some acquisitions and those share buybacks.
Right.
But it's still considered manageable, especially given their strong cash flow and overall profitability.
So no need to panic about the debt then?
No, not at all. Of course, it's something to keep an eye on. But if you look at their debt to EBITDA ratio, that's earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization, it basically measures their ability to pay off that debt.
Right.
And that sits at a pretty healthy 3.46.
Uh-huh.
Means they're making enough to cover their debt without breaking a sweat.
Got it. So debt's manageable, profitability is fantastic. What about the cash flow? Is the money coming in consistently?
Oh, McDonald's is a cash-generating machine, largely thanks to that franchise model again.
Right.
It gives them a really stable, predictable income stream.
Yeah.
In fact, their free cash flow conversion in 2024 was a massive 81%. Basically means they're turning profits into actual cash really efficiently.
Wow.
Which is key for, reinvesting, paying those dividends, and riding out any economic storms that come along.
Okay, so it sounds like we've covered a lot. Business model, management team, their financial health. So far, I'm impressed. McDonald seems to be checking a lot of the boxes for a solid value investment. But what's the market saying? Are analysts bullish? Bearish? And who owns most of their stock? We'll get into all that in the second half of our deep dive.
Yeah, and we'll dig into the risks, too, because even the best companies face challenges, right?
Definitely. Stay tuned. Lots more to uncover.
Yeah.
And before we go, quick reminder. All the sources we use, they're linked in the description below. Be sure to check them out.
Absolutely. And let us know what you think. What are your first impressions of McDonald's as an investment? Leave your comments below and tell us what other stocks you'd like us to analyze.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely.
Welcome back to our McDonald's deep dive. So, first time we really dug into their business model, the management team, financials. Gotta say, I'm liking what I'm seeing.
Yeah, they've definitely built a strong business.
They have.
But, investing's not just about the past. It's about what's coming next, right?
Right.
So let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk about the overall market sentiment around McDonald's. What are analysts saying? What's the outlook?
Well, from the research we've got, it seems like there's this cautious optimism.
Okay.
Most analysts, they acknowledge the strong fundamentals, the growth potential.
Right.
But there's some worries, too.
Yeah. What are they saying?
Well, there's talk of a possible economic slowdown, and then there's always inflation looming.
Right.
Those things could put some downward pressure on the stock price, at least in the short term.
Makes sense. So investors are kind of weighing the potential for growth against those economic uncertainties.
Yeah.
Speaking of investors, who are the big players holding McDonald's stock? Is it mostly, individual investors, or are we talking big institutions?
It's actually a pretty good mix.
Okay.
But a big chunk is held by institutional investors.
Oh, wow. Like who?
Like Vanguard Group, BlackRock, State Street Core, those kinds of names.
Oh, yeah, the big guys.
Yeah, these aren't your average day traders. They're in it for the long game. And usually when you see them holding a stock, it means they have confidence in the company's future.
That's a good sign, for sure.
Yeah. But even with a great track record, strong financials, those big-name investors, there's got to be some risks, right?
Of course, no company is immune to risk, and McDonald's is no different.
Right.
Let's start with the obvious one, competition. The fast food industry is a battlefield.
Oh, yeah.
You've got those established giants, and then all these new players coming in, everyone fighting for market share.
So it's not enough to just have that brand recognition, the golden arches, and just coast.
Not anymore, no. Consumers have so many choices these days. McDonald's has to keep innovating not just with new menu items, but with the whole customer experience.
Right, and that experience is changing so fast. I mean, look at mobile ordering, delivery services, all that personalized marketing.
Exactly. McDonald's has to keep up with those trends or they'll fall behind.
Yeah.
And speaking of evolving, what about consumer preferences? What if people suddenly decide they want healthier food or food sourced more ethically?
That's a good point. I mean, they have been adding healthier options, plant-based stuff, but yeah, they have to stay ahead of that curve.
Absolutely.
I'm guessing labor costs are a big concern too, right?
Yeah.
It seems like the whole restaurant industry is struggling to find and keep workers.
Huge concern. Rising labor costs can really squeeze those profit margins. And when employees are constantly coming and going, it affects the quality of service.
Yeah, definitely.
And let's not forget about food safety. That's a constant risk. Even a small incident can do serious damage to a company's reputation.